What up, though? This what's on your screen right now is what is called an emblem of America. Now understand, all the peoples on the planet come from a soil portion, or as it is termed, they come from land masses. You got the land mass of Africa, Europe, and Asia, which is all one land mass or soil portion. Then you have the land mass of what we term as the Americas, the top of Canada to the bottom of Argentina and all the islands and such. You have people who come from these places. The soil portion you come from needs you and you need it. We've been told in America that a certain people are the original people from this soil portion. Let's see if today we can try to clear up who those people are, because you've been shown who those people are from an early age. It's called programming. And it started when you were young, when you were very young. And it hasn't stopped. So if you look on the screen, you'll see an emblem of America. There is what appears to be, actually, I'm not going to explain it. Let's move on. You see what is termed a white woman holding an American flag. And next to her, you see what appears to be someone who looks like you with a feather crown or feather headdress. And if you look close enough, looks like I'm pretty sure it's a hoop earring, because the hoop earring is always associated with us. And it says allegories, 3-hand colored mezzotints, an emblem of America. An allegory. See, because it says an allegory, it may explain why why the Indian is so small in comparison to the, quote, white woman, end quote. I don't think he's meant to be a child. I think it's meant to be symbolic of she's over him. She has authority over him. I could be wrong, but pay attention. It says London, Stampa, 1800, framed behind black lacquer passport tout and uniformly framed behind glass. A few minor imperfection. I guess this is for sale. One engraving with small wormhole in the image, some foxing, but nevertheless in very good condition. Nice set. The frames with small missings. Allegorical representations of the major continents. The figure of America, the person who you would term a white woman, the figure of America holds a flag and stands with an American Indian child in front of Niagara Falls with her hand on a monument to George Washington. In Danforth, Encountering the New World. Price is, I guess this is pounds or something, 20,000 pounds. I'm not familiar with that currency. It's European pounds, but it says the figure of America holds a flag and stands with an American Indian. So you have what is termed a white woman or European woman or Anglo-Saxon woman who is the figure of America. And it's similar to when the definition of American in the 1828 Noah Webster's dictionary says that now American is applied to the descendants of Europeans. So the figure of America holds a flag and stands with an American Indian child. Can you see the American Indian child? Again, I don't know if it's meant to be, it says child, but maybe the allegory is that it's an adult. But let's just go with what it says. Here we have it, the symbol of America with an American Indian child. Is it clear to you? Is it clear who the American is? Who the true American is? The American Indian? I know you got relatives in the past who wore a feather in their hat, who wore a feather in the fedora. I know you got relatives, maybe even you, who wore hoop earrings. Look. Here's another picture, a little clearer. The Anglo-Saxon woman is representing America. And there is the American Indian child, as they say. I'm not sure if that's really a child or it's symbolic of her having authority over the American Indian. Look, they ain't make no mistakes. You was always told that them people with the two braids hanging down, with the straight hair, the people who look the Anglo-Saxon people, Anglo-Saxon, Roman, Siberian, Chinese people, you were always told that those people who are termed Native Americans, you were told that they were the original people of this soil portion and that you a minority. When in fact, you was here and you ain't went nowhere. You always been here. We always been here. You just mentally went somewhere else. And that's the plan, to get you to go somewhere else mentally. Come back. Come home. It's time to go home. An emblem of America. The Anglo-Saxon woman, who is termed a white woman, the European woman, which is European. It's a blanket statement. I don't know where this woman come from, but she is termed a white woman today. And you see next to her an American Indian, an Indian, no. You understand? An emblem of America. Reverse painting. That's what we just looked at. Reverse painting on glass, or I think we'll see a larger picture after this. Collection type art, 1800s. Reverse painting, 1800s is like yesterday. That's not too far back. If you've been digging and doing research into your family through records and things of that nature, you'll find that the 1800s is not far back. reverse painting on glass in a black and gold frame of a lady with brown curly hair and dark eyes wearing a red feather plume, red draped shawl, and red and green long dress. She holds a red, white, and blue flag in her right hand and rests her hand on a stone dedicated to the memory of George Washington. And it says descriptive items, descriptive terms. Okay, paintings, glass, oil paint, reverse painting on glass, flags, waterfalls, figure and animal derived motifs, women, oil, glass, painted woman, flag, waterfall, Native American, Native American. Okay, this reverse painting on glass, also known as Eglomis was created in 1800 by P. Stampa, a British printer and publisher who specialized in decorative mezzotints from 1798 to 1817. The painting depicts Columbia, an allegorical female figure representing the United States. See? Representing the United States, not America. United States, the corporation who is occupying America currently. It says, this is 1800 now, alongside an African American child. No such thing as an African American. Do you see? Do you see how they blatantly lied to you? Do you understand that? How you was blatantly lied to? Look at this picture. They say that's an African American child in that description. Do you think that description was updated? Think they updated that to fit the narrative of today? What you think? You think that description was updated? Well, let's see. Check it out. They were selling the particular engraving, and it says allegorical representations of the major continents, the figure of America, or as they say, Columbia, holds a flag and stands with an American Indian child in front of Niagara Falls, and with her hand on a monument to George Washington. Okay, look, that's the American Indian child. Now, as we look at another rendition of that same picture, it says, in her right hand, and rest her hand on a stone dedicated to the memory of George Washington. And it says, the painting depicts Columbia, an allegorical female figure representing the United States, alongside an African American child, or properly an American Indian. Shortly after the British North American colonies gained independence from England in the late 18th century, the late 1700s, the female figure of Columbia became synonymous with American identity. However, personifications of North America developed as early as the 16th century, the 1500s, with early modern artists depicting Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas as female figures in prints, paintings, and sculptures. Artists depicted Europe as illustrious and cultivated to glorify its greatness, whereas artists depicted North America as unrefined and uncivilized. Americas depicted as an Indian princess, often wore a feathered headdress, feathered skirt, and a bow and arrow. The figure was regularly situated with the tropical landscape, sometimes holding a parrot or sitting on an enlarged alligator or oversized armadillo, based on their own ideas of indigenous life in North America. By the 18th century, the 1700s, as the New World became less threatening to Europe, artists and allegorists began portraying North America as the neoclassical white female figure that became known as Columbia. The African American child, besides Columbia, dressed in the guise of a Native American figure, may be a representation of the noble savage trope. A highly offensive term first appearing in 17th century literature, the noble savage referred to someone who lives in nature, uncorrupted by civilization. French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau later embraced the concept to highlight the corruption of European civilization in much of his 18th century discourse. Americans similarly embraced the stereotype after gaining independence, as many artists in the late 18th and early 19th centuries created romanticized and falsified images of indigenous people. The primitive and simple life of the ennobled savage, many artists believed, juxtaposed the corruption of urban civilization. The African American figure, or properly the American Indian figure in the painting, might also be represented as a child on account of the dominant caricatures that depicted people of color as children in the 18th and 19th century. These offensive and harmful portrayals were intended to justify slavery by instilling a paternalistic attitude in white masters and perpetuating the belief that they could serve as parental figures for enslaved people. This not only justified chattel slavery, but made it appear morally righteous, regardless of whatever symbolism the artist had intended for the allegorical figures in his painting. It is no doubt suggestive of the widespread belief that people of color were considered lesser than in the new nation. This object was probably acquired by Richard Tucker during his trip to Europe in 1857 and installed at Castle Tucker after Tucker and his wife, Molly Armstrong, moved to the house in 1858. It was typical for American bachelors on their grand tour to acquire art, prints, and other souvenirs to represent their learnedness and culture. The subject matter may have mattered less to Tucker than the overall goal of having Americana displayed in his home. One more time. It was typical for American bachelors on their grand tour to acquire arts, prints, and other souvenirs to represent their learnedness and culture. So they're acquiring these pictures regardless of the subject matter. The subject matter is your people. The subject matter is the American Indian. The subject matter is your ancestors, the original people of this soil. That's the subject matter. And that subject matter for these particular, quote, American bachelors, which were Anglo-Saxons on their grand tour, they represented their learnedness and culture. So paintings of prints and paintings of your ancestors, just the very image of your ancestors, represented to them learnedness and culture. It solidified their learnedness and culture just by having a print or a painting of your people. The overall goal of having Americana displayed in his home, the piece remains on view at Castle Tucker, preserved for posterity by descendant Jane Standish Tucker, who began restoring the house in the 1960s in preparation for opening it for visitors. And no doubt they will put your people, the painting of your ancestors, of your people, on a pedestal. This is from the historic New England, what we just saw. And here is that painting. Look, you can barely see him. You can barely see your ancestor, but you thought it was the Tonto Indian, the one with the two braids, with the straight hair, with the bone straight hair that's dyed black, with the two braids. You always thought that them was the original people with this soil portion. Think again. Think again. Here we go. It's a little clearer right here. A little clearer. An emblem of America. Your people. Your people. Having this print of your people. Having this Americana. Represented learnedness and culture. For the Anglo-Saxon, the Caucasian, the quote, white person, end quote, or wherever they were from on that soil portion. I don't know. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Yep. You represented learnedness, just having an image of your people. Represented learnedness and culture. Think about today. Don't you represent the culture today as well? Yeah, I think so. Do the right thing.